Hey everybody, welcome to the Daily Dose podcast number 3. Today we have on Pietro DeLuca, who is in his master's right now. Welcome to the podcast.
To be here.
Awesome. So master's, how's that going for you? You just said you started.
Yeah, no, it's just started in January in the Masters of Accounting at Brock University. It's pretty intense right away, but it's good. It's hard, but it's good. So I'm enjoying it so far.
Mm-hmm. With an accelerated program too, that's pretty intense. My sister did the same thing. It wasn't as accelerated. It was quick, but that's pretty quick from January to August. So
Yeah, it gets
what's
it gets they do condense it quite a bit just so that it can be fit in before we write our final exam in September. So they want to get everything in before then, just so that you can write in the same year. But it is pretty intense for sure.
Mhm. What's that like for time management? Like, what do you have any certain things you brought over from your undergrad that
Yeah, just
you use?
definitely strong scheduling. I have the start of every semester that I've done. I set up my schedule, what I'm going to do each day, pretty much. For this semester specifically, I kind of pick like one day of the week, and I just focus on one class. So I have 5 classes. So one day out of the week, I focus on one, and I keep doing that. Then the other 2 days, I either use as a catch-up day or just a day off, like just like a day of rest, pretty much from school. So, but definitely strong schedule. Like so many assignments, so much homework, so many readings going on.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely something that I found was everyone told me when I went into school for the first time, and I mean, it was very stressful, let alone masters accelerated. What's one thing that you find helps you to stay concentrated? Do you have like your own way that you focus? Like, do you listen to music or do you just kind of quiet helps or?
For me, I don't listen to music really at all. When I do, for me, just for school, I normally need it to be silent if I really need to focus.
Mhm.
But I think just in terms of how just to stay focused throughout the day, like if you do school 24/7, you're just going to be burnt out after a small amount of time.
Mhm.
So it's good to do other things. It's good to take breaks. Like exercise is huge, I think, just for the mind and everything. So I think doing those complement uh, like your focus and your ability to like perform on tests or anything like that throughout school.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I've definitely exercise for me clears my mind. It seems like it's not a huge thing, but when you do exercise, it definitely like it just relieves a weight off you.
It
I
does, yeah. Even just like a small walk or something, like there's been even times where if I've been doing work and I'm just not necessarily in the mood, or maybe I'm not fully understanding something and I'm thinking my mind's kind of all over the place, just like quick 50-minute walk outside, listen to a podcast or whatever, or just doing a nice silent walk or walk with my family. It really helps. You come back, you feel refreshed. Same thing with, yeah, just general exercise. I feel that definitely helps as well.
Mhm. Yeah, it definitely clears your mind and allows you to think a lot clearer. There was actually one thing that I was talking to Corey about recently, and he was saying how like walking and reading helps you to like doing activity after you've read, and I've done that with scripts as well, where they tell you to like read after or walk after you've read your script, and it helps to like keep your mind fresh and like get it thinking more, even though you're not actually thinking about it. It's something that's pretty interesting, and I found that helps too.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. I'd agree with that. Yeah, I mean, it's almost like it's a reliever, right? Like a lot of people just use exercise as just general stress relief and stuff, but I can definitely see that being kind of like after you do something to take a break and get outside, get a walk, get the blood flowing. It definitely makes sense.
mhm. So back to your bachelor's degree, you were doing the co-op throughout the whole thing. I know that you were pretty busy with that too. Was that how was that for you and time management as well?
Yeah, so the way the accounting program is set up is that we do most of our co-op terms over a period of 4 months, and then we go back to school for 4 months, then we work for 4 months, and it kind of switches on and off. But it's set up that way so that we always work the 4 months between January and April. And that's the busy season for accountants. For people that wouldn't know that, like it's tax season. So everyone's personal tax returns are due by the end of April. So it's a big rush for accountants, usually in March and April, very busy months, long hours, a lot of clients, a lot of people talking to you. So even that it's stressful, even as a co-op student, it's stressful just because you're there to help out. You're new to the company, you want to fit in, you want to make sure you're doing everything right, you want to be working hours to show that you're committed, stuff like that. But for me, it's been great. Like the firm that I work at is fantastic. Very chill, very great environment. I've been able to fit in. So I've done 20 months now total of work experience there, because I had 5 co-op terms of 4 months each. But during that time, again, like similar things to school, where it's like you have to do stuff outside of work. If you just work, long days every single day, you're going to be burnt out. You're not going to be as productive. So even my work, I think, had some things that we put in place to try to promote that. Like I think once a week during the day, we had like yoga classes, or like a yoga instructor come in. We'd have, get-togethers, stuff like that, just to kind of, relieve the burden from all the work that everyone's doing, because everyone kind of seems, stressed out. So it's nice to have those little breaks, and just so that people can kind of refresh, be more productive.
Yeah. What does it look like when it's not tax season? Like, what would you be doing, or in general, what do you do when it's not really that busy season?
So when it's not tax season, because tax season really is a big rush for everyone's personal tax returns. So just anyone who's an individual who maybe just has a job somewhere, stuff like that. But throughout the year, any business tax return can be due at the end of any given, depending on when their year end is. So it's really just doing those corporate tax returns. There's also audits that we go on throughout the year. So it could still be fairly busy, but it's a lot less busy than it is during tax season, because I know March and April, our regular work hours are Monday to Friday, but also Saturday for a half day. So we need to work that amount to be considered normal work hours.
Yeah.
But then in the summer, for July and August, we get half day Fridays and then Saturdays off. So we kind of makes up for that. So the extra work hours kind of get pushed to those months, and then more relaxed in the summer. So it's definitely more relaxed, a little bit of a different work to do. But definitely, you ask any accountant, it's March and April. April are their least favorite months.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the ratio of companies to individuals is definitely significantly different. What is
definitely, yeah.
For those audits you were talking about? Is that an in-person thing, or do you do that? How do you do that?
Yeah, so I mean, pre-COVID, obviously, it was an in-person thing where a client check all their books just to make sure that their financial statements are all good, and they present the information fairly, just so that outside investors kind of have confidence that this company isn't falsifying their records, they're not inflating their earnings. We had independent accountants go in and check all this stuff. That's kind of what auditors do. And pre-COVID, what it would be is we maybe go into the client's office for a week, and every day we look at their documents, we run sample testing, we see, okay, is what they recorded here, do they have a piece of paper that we can match it with for the various accounts that they have. Obviously with COVID now, it's become a lot harder because it's moved virtual, where for some clients it's easier because all their stuff is already electronic. But for some clients, they're just dropping off boxes and boxes of stuff, and then it's pretty confusing to go through that stuff and then correspond with them online, have meetings with them via Zoom, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Obviously, a lot of stuff's easier in person.
Yeah.
So audits have kind of become a bit more challenging, I'd say, remotely.
Yeah, 100%. I could see how that would cause quite a bit of issues. So when you do those audits, does that tie into like the whole company's, like their revenue, how much they make? Like, does that tie into the information in the stock market? Like, does that coincide or is that different information?
No, it could. For the most part, we deal with private companies, so
Mm,
the shares aren't, traded on the stock market.
okay.
But for a public company audit, that's exactly who the auditors are for, right? If I'm looking into investing into a public company and I'm going to look at their financial statements, I want to know that this company isn't just making these financial statements up. So what you'll
Mhm.
normally see is that, oh, we had an audit done of these, or they'll even be titled audited financial statements, and you'll see the audit was completed by this state, which is independent from that public company. So when you're investing, you can, have a little bit more assurance that these have been checked over by someone independent of said company, meaning that they should be good to go. I can rely on this information to make my decision on whether to invest in this company or
Mhm. For people that don't know much, was there any because I know that we had talked about dividends and stuff, and that got me into that. I never really knew, but was there any basic information about investing in general, not even the stocks, but that you learned through the finance course that you would say would be helpful for people that don't know?
not. Yeah, like one of the biggest things that stands out for what I learned during, I think my first finance course at Brock was that my professor actually showed a chart of the difference between someone who starts investing when they're 20 and between 20 years of age and 30 years of age. So someone who starts when they're 20 versus someone who starts when they're 30, and what that amount ends up being when they retire. And the difference was like millions of dollars. For the person who started at 20 had millions more dollars than the person who started at 30. And then I was like, wow, like that's very significant. And the
Mhm.
point he was trying to make was that, you know, it's better to start early. You want to start early. And I think that was like drilled in my head. And I'm like, you know, that I have to start now. Like it's very important, like for your future, for everything, to start now. And a lot of people also find it very intimidating, the stock market, everything. They might just think, oh, it's too hard. Like, oh, it's just, you know, I'm just gonna save my money in my bank account. Like I can see my balance. I don't research stocks and stuff. But once you get into it, and once you just kind of open your mind and allow, you know, learning of this kind of stuff, you'll see it's not really as difficult as it seems. And it's very essential, which a lot
Mhm.
of people don't also know, that it's very important, and not even for yourself, but for your kids, like, inheritance money, or just for the future, for buying things. Like, things are expensive. It's, you need a lot of money in retirement. And, I've seen studies where a majority of Canadians, don't have basic financial literacy, or they, don't feel confident with the money they have going into retirement.
Mhm.
Obviously, that can stem from, them not being ever taught financial literacy, in school. It's kind of neglected, financial literacy, not like a compulsory course that we have to take in elementary or high school,
Mhm.
which I think, could contribute to that. But I still think that starting early is huge. That would be my biggest thing that I've learned, definitely, in university.
Yeah, I found it's definitely a like who you're surrounded by thing. And I mean that goes to anything. Like the reason why I started was because of my dad and there was people around me that had invested in it, so I was familiar. But without that, I would it's a huge, like it's such a big thing, I feel. If you're not really someone to just be like, oh, I want to put my money there, because if you don't know much about it, all that you see is these charts that are crazy and everyone's like, oh, it could go up and down, lose your money. It is very intimidating, but again, like you said at the beginning, once you figure it out and you're in it and you're actually doing it, it isn't that complicated.
Yeah, a lot of people, I think, like you said, they see the charts and, for them, it's a lot riskier. It's perceived to be very risky, like the stock market. Like you see big returns, you see big losses, where you kind of sit back and do the research, you can find that everything is, risky, where like it's not gambling, right? There's certain things you obviously need to look at. But for the most part, there's a lot of stocks that aren't, wouldn't be considered risky, and you're very unlikely to lose your money, and you're actually very likely to gain a significant amount of money over a long period of time. So
Mhm. The one thing I learned from when we talked about dividends, it seems like such a small amount, but there's some that pay out, like the one pays out 2 cents a month and the share is like $3. So if you were to buy hundreds of shares, if you have like $1,000 or $2,000, you're really getting back so much. And same with like the bigger companies. It just goes to show that like it seems like a little, but over time with that, like you said, if you start earlier, that it starts to compound. And if it's a solid company, you can make money just off the stock, but you also make it and they're paying you. That was the cool thing that I never understood before, that they're actually giving you money to buy their stuff.
yeah, exactly. It's as simple as just holding their stock, where, you know, charts or just general analysis, where if you're looking at a bank stock and it's just been going up, up, up over like the long term, and it's just going to continue long term to slowly go up. Well, if I just buy that and hold it as it goes up, they're paying you just to hold it. So
Mhm.
that dividend that they're paying you every month or every quarter is just extra money that you're getting for holding something that's going to go up anyway, right?
Mhm.
So it's very, like, dividend investing is very powerful, obviously, just to have that passive income. Like, you don't have to work for it, right? All you go on is in your computer, in your investment account, you buy the stock, and you can hold it forever. You never have to sell it. It can just
Mhm.
keep going up, and they're going to pay you just simply for investing your money. They're paying you for it. So it is a crazy concept. It's a great concept. Um, and I'm very invested in those dividend type stocks for sure.
Mhm. And the other thing too is that there are other options. Like you can go into the bank and invest other than the stock market, which I feel like a lot of people also don't know too, that they're, because like you said earlier, that just keeping it in, you can see your amount in the bank account. But one thing I learned too is that that money eventually over time isn't actually worth that because of inflation. So you're really losing the money, which is another cool thing, that you can really just put it away. The bank will put it in a safe depending on what you want to do with it, and you can make money that way. So there's
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people, uh, that's a huge misunderstanding. Yeah, where $30,000 today is not the same as that same $30,000 30 years from now.
Mhm.
And if you, like, it's just like if you took $30,000 cash, put it under your bed, if you woke up 30 years later and wanted to spend that, you'd be getting significantly less than what you could use that $30,000 for today.
Mhm.
So things just like even savings accounts, especially in North America, where the rates are just so ridiculously low. Like, I think my savings account might be 0.2%, I want to say. And like you mentioned, with inflation and stuff, even though you're gaining that little bit of interest of 0.2%, inflation blows it out of the water and you're actually
Yeah.
losing money. So that's why it's important that extra savings that you don't necessarily need access to right away, very important to put that away into investments that can, on average, probably yield 7-8% based on the past returns of the stock market over the last 10 years or so.
Mhm. Yeah, and there is, for people that don't know either, there are stocks that, like, there's certain index stocks, I guess. I don't know the full terminology, correct me if I'm wrong, but like there's certain packs of stocks that companies put together that are all really are within the same sector, and you can invest in that, or you can invest in, like Pietro was talking about, like there's banking companies, ones that are really reliable. So it's not like you're just going in and putting your money in something that you don't know. Like there's things that you can actually go in and research how well they're doing, or you can see how well they have done in the past. So it's not as daunting as it seems. I feel like the first buy is really the one that is like, okay, I did it. I'm now in it. For me, the first buy was like scary.
Yeah, no, it definitely opens the floodgates. And what you were talking about when you kind of said that group of stocks or that index, so that's called an ETF, um, exchange traded fund. So yeah, what that basically is it's a basket of stocks um, sold as one stock, pretty much. So instead of me having to go and, you know, in order to diversify a portfolio, you want, stocks of different areas, different sectors. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket and just bank stocks. So maybe you want bank stocks, you want utilities, kind of all these different sectors. Um, but to do that, right, I'd have to spend money on bank stocks. Then I'd have to spend money on a different stock in utilities, then a different stock in service companies. What an ETF allows you to do is just buy one stock, which holds all those companies for you. So it kind of does the diversification for you. So those are very powerful too. I very much enjoy those. I have those in my portfolio. Gives you exposure to so many companies that I wouldn't be able to buy individually on my own
Mhm.
at this point in time, at least. So they're great. Definitely a good way to quickly and cheaply get access to a lot of different sectors and companies.
Mhm. There's do they pay dividends on any of those, or is that just strictly a group of stocks?
So they can pay dividends if they hold stocks that pay dividends. Then the percentage of the ETF that holds that stock pays that dividend to you. So, for example, the ETF might hold 5% share of a BMO stock,
Mm.
BMO Bank, and then out of that 5%, if whatever dividend they get, they pay it to me or split it amongst the shareholders. So I do have some that do pay dividends because the shares that the ETF holds pays dividends. So that income also flows to me.
Mhm. Are there significant things that you look for? Like, do you really go in depth when you look and buy into a company? Like, are there certain things that you've learned to look for? Or are there certain things that you find yourself that work for the company's like
Yeah.
money flow and everything?
Yeah. I think, I don't go, I honestly don't even go too in depth just because, even a lot of studies show that, market information is portrayed in the stock price. So doing in-depth research doesn't even put you further ahead of what the market will return.
Mm.
But in saying that, there are certain things you want to look for, obviously, certain risks. But for me, really, it was this is going to be for my, retirement. I'm a very long-term investor. So, you know, one of the like some of the advice I give is just, look around you or just think, right? Like I walk down the street from my house, like there's a BMO Bank of Montreal, and I'm like, BMO Bank of Montreal is not going bankrupt. It's not going anywhere.
Mhm.
So that would be a strong stock to invest in. And when you look at its chart since it's been around, continuously goes up. They continuously increase their dividend each year. That's a big thing for me that companies continually increase their dividends. So there's companies that have increased their dividend by a percentage over the last 50 years. And you look at those companies, and if they're able to continuously pay their shareholders more money, then it's very likely that this is going to continue for a long time.
Mhm.
So that's one of the things I look at is the dividend amount as well as how long they've been paying out dividends, if their dividends are increasing. Um, but really, it is just for me, for the most part, companies that you see, like I was saying, you just kind of look around or think like, my it's a huge utility company. It's not going anywhere. So that's another stock that I'm invested in. They have a strong dividend. So it's not even so much the technical analysis, and I think that's where a lot of people think, oh, I have to look at the charts, I have to analyze and pick when to buy, stuff like that, right?
Mhm.
And even for me, I don't look at a chart and say, oh, this stock is down, so I'm going to buy it here, and then when it goes up, I'm going to sell it. Like I've only sold a few, I think, stocks, but for the most part, I'm not monitoring the day to day or week to week fluctuations in the stock.
Mhm.
I just know over the long term, it's going to continuously rise based on past events and based on, what the companies are.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, depending obviously on people's situation and people's own whatever they want to do, like there's different options for like day trading and all that stuff. Like you can really, it's not so a long term, they can more risky. It just depends. Like everyone has their own thing, and they can really just do whatever you want. I mean, the stock market has, once you go from there, you can go into like short, sell it. Like there's so many different options, but just the basics are very much more simple than what everyone perceives it as. So,
Exactly. Like you see that stuff kind of in the movies, right? Like short selling stocks and the stockbrokers going crazy, all that. And I think that kind of gives people the idea that it's very difficult. But the very basics of the stock market and investing are quite simple to learn and quite frankly, very, very important for financial like well-being in the future.
yeah, that's something. The future is definitely something, like building that base and having it early too is definitely important. I mean, a lot of people don't even recognize that, or have the awareness to see that that's real because they've never been taught it, or even told about it. So that's something that's yeah, I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to know, and I mean, now that you've shared it with more people, that's good to put it out there.
Yeah, and another thing too that I just thought of was that, a lot of people, they'll say, I don't have money to invest, or I don't, I don't make enough money, or I don't have enough extra money to invest. Where, you know, even if you don't necessarily make a strong salary right now, or even if you don't necessarily have a lot of money to take home after, all your expenses, there's always ways to either reduce your expenses or increase your income, as well as, you don't need $5,000 to start investing. You don't need $10,000. You don't even need $1,000, right? Like you could start with $10, $50. Like stocks, shares of some companies aren't always in such high amounts where, you can start and say, I want to save $10 a week. I want to save $10 a month. Like you can set your goals very small and begin to build that up over time and begin to put that money away. It's not, I feel like a lot of people think, oh, well, I haven't saved enough money yet to put it away. And it's like, well, the money that you have saved can be put away right now, and then you can continue to save. And that kind of goes back to, people waiting versus the people that start now have a huge advantage uh, with the time value of money there. So
Mhm. And then even, I mean, no time's too late either. It's better now than never. Like if people are hearing this and they're like, oh, well, it's too late. It's never too late, because like you just said, I mean, you can start with however much. I mean, there's companies that are like really stable companies that have $200-300 a share, and then there's some that are like $9 a share and they pay a dividend, and there's stable companies that have been around. So it's not like you're out in the water and you're hopeless. Like there's so many different options.
yeah, exactly. Just because a share price is significantly higher than a different company's share price, it doesn't necessarily make that company better. It's just how they've structured their shares, how many shares they have issued. So it really depends on, you know, yeah, it really does depend on how they have their shares issued. Where, like you just said, there's some companies where you can get strong companies and you don't have to break the bank just to have a share, versus, there's companies like Amazon where the share is in the thousands of dollars. So maybe you can't start with that one, but eventually you could build your way up to something like that if you continuously make a commitment to save money and to invest money. It's just like anything, right? You want to get better at something, you train for it. Same thing. You want to, start investing, you want to have a better financial future. Well, you start small, you start putting away money weekly, monthly, or whatever works for you, really. But getting started is the biggest thing for sure.
Yeah, definitely that barrier of just diving in. I mean, once you learn how to do one thing, you really learn how to do everything. Like you said,
For
with
sure.
working out or the stocks, like how you learn how to start one thing and just make it, you learn how to do it all.
Exactly.
But you're very passionate about accounting, and you have been since you started. What kind of like, was there a point where you knew I want to be an accountant, or was it just kind of like you went to school and thought it was a good match? Like, how did that, for people that are like, oh, I don't know what to do, like, was there a point where you kind of knew, or was it, how did that
Yeah, I think, growing up for me especially in elementary school, when I was growing up in elementary school, probably even probably up to grade 8 or so, I was always, I want to be a teacher. I always thought I always want to teach people. And, you know, when I think of accounting or I think of the business world, like it's really not too far off of teaching people, just
Mhm.
because I'm kind of showing them, what the numbers look like, try to explain it to them in less complicated ways, stuff like that. Uh, so I do think that kind of teaching goes along with it. But throughout high school, I wasn't too sure probably until grade 11, when we had to apply, or maybe the end of grade 10. Um, but I did know that, I really did enjoy things that revolved around finance and money and helping people financially. Taking accounting in high school in grade 11, and that really, opened my eyes and said, yeah, this is definitely something I'd like to do, where, this would give me a very good understanding of taxes and, everything that goes with accounting. And I thought, I mean, one of the big things too, honestly, was that Brock has a very good accounting program. Um, and I really didn't even want to go away for school. So that really helped me too, where I really didn't want to go, I really wanted to go to Brock. And Brock just so happened to have an accounting program and a good accounting program. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it was a perfect match for me at that point. I only applied to Brock Accounting. I didn't apply anywhere else.
Really?
So yeah, so that's the only place I applied. I didn't apply anywhere else because I knew I only wanted to do Brock Accounting. So I think in our application we could pick three. I just put one. I put Brock Accounting. That's it. Um, so I think it was probably grade 11 that I knew for sure. Uh, but yeah, I'm not sure if there's like a single event that made me kind of like switch onto it.
It was more
But I
so.
think just, yeah, like I've always been more, math based and, kind of more away from sciences and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
um, that probably had a hand in it. But as I kind of grew throughout high school, I probably, started thinking more business, finance, and obviously those two things kind of go hand in hand with accounting. Um, and I also really liked the CPA designation. So, so that's for anyone who doesn't know, CPA stands for Chartered Professional Accountant. So that's the designation that you get at the end of your accounting degree. After my master's, I'm going to be writing the exam to become a chartered professional. So in looking that up and doing my research on, where I wanted to apply, I really liked what that designation meant and what it could get you, the opportunities that it could get you. Because a lot of people think, accountants, they just work in accounting firms. Well, where with the CPA, you can work anywhere. Like it's crazy. Like I didn't even realize, where accountants could work, where it's like you can work, like you could work in an accounting firm, sure. You can just work for people personally outside of a firm on your own. You can work for any private company, you can work for any industry, right? Like Canadian Tire has a CPA working for them, controlling everyone. Work on a board of directors for a company, to work for sports teams. Like it's the opportunities were just very broad, which I liked.
Mhm.
Just because, it is scary going to university. You don't want to, I didn't want to pick one thing. And, if accountants only worked in accounting firms and then I went into it and then I firm, I would have been screwed, or I would have wanted to change or whatever. So it was nice that it had all those opportunities. And I'm very excited to become a CPA one day, just because I'll be able to explore those opportunities and I'll see what comes of it. Like I don't even, you can ask me, what I want to do in my future. I don't even really know at this point, and I'm done my undergrad degree, right?
Mhm.
So it holds a lot of possibilities with that designation. So that was a big thing for me where when I did the research and I found, what I could be and what those opportunities were, that really helped signify, okay, this is something I want to go into just because it gives me this opportunity. So
Yeah, yeah, that's good. I mean, there's some degrees out there that really, I mean, they don't lead to much, and I don't know if that's through. I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff, but there's some that just really don't lead to much, and it's good that you're the designation you can really go in anything. Like that's you're not held to one
yeah,
specific sector.
no, definitely. Yeah. And like you said, like, some programs, that's why research is important, right? You want to know, once I do this, what opportunities does it present, right? Because not only you can you go into something and not like it, but there's a financial burden there where university or college or post-secondary costs money, and it costs a lot of money, uh,
Mhm.
and often puts a majority of students in debt. So it's a big decision to make, and that's why a lot of research is needed, because you want to know, okay, once I'm done this, what are my opportunities? Because if I'm committing to do this and I'm taking on debt, I need to be able to pay off that debt, or I want a career after this, right?
Mhm.
So it's very important to understand kind of what you're getting yourself into beforehand, because if you jump right in, maybe it'll work out if you jump right in. I'm sure before, but you're kind of running the risk there where if you don't like it, you might want to back out, and there's obviously financial implications, and
Mhm.
probably emotional implications too, right? So it is hard, but it was a great decision for me. At least I very much enjoyed my time at Brock. Um, I'm even sad that it's going to come to an end of September, just because it's nice, to always see your friends, stuff like that.
Yep.
Uh, a lot of my friends and our friends are done school now. They've done their 4 years, uh, and now it's just kind of like the work life, right? And you don't see your friends every day at school, so I'm gonna miss it. It was a great experience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now it's moving on. We're all at that age where we're starting to get to the point. I mean, Cass is a nurse doing that full time. So I mean, there's plenty of and even getting into the like the real world, so to say, like you just see how many options there are. Like it seems like that transition from school to doing not school is pretty scary and stressful just because you've never been there. And I mean that relate that back to the stock market, doing something new. It's scary, but it really is like so much different than what at least I've found that what everyone explained it to be anyway.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, a lot of people throughout university or college, maybe during the summers, they worked at, you know, a restaurant, or they worked, just their summer job that they've been working for high school. And then once university ends, and you start working maybe for like your career, which is, you know, generally more serious than what you've been doing for your summer jobs and stuff, it can be a big jump, right? Like this is now, you have to take it seriously. Like it's not, high school summer where, oh, I can just call in sick to work or something, or,
Mm,
it doesn't really matter. I'm just serving. Like I don't really care, right? Where this is, you want to build your career. You need to care, right? If you want to be successful, you have to care about the work that you do.
mm.
So, for a lot of people that didn't work in their industry, um, prior to the end of their schooling, it could be a big jump for them. And yeah, no, definitely scary and stressful, as you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah, I can definitely agree with that one. It's a I mean, for me, I was doing the serving for quite a while now, moving on to acting and YouTube and all that. Like, this is what I really love to do, but making that change, like, you really have to have a passion for what you, like you said, you have to be committed and be passionate, or otherwise, it's not gonna hit home with you, and you're not gonna do the best work that you can be doing. Um, yeah, it's definitely something that everyone experiences differently, but
Yeah, no, and like you said, the passion is a huge thing, right? If you love what you do, then it's going to be a lot less scary, a lot less stressful for you, and you're going to enjoy it much more, right? Like they always say, if you enjoy your work, then you never work a day in your life, because
mhm,
it's not work if you really like it,
yeah.
right? So if you have that passion for something, and yeah, I'm very glad that you found, that passion for acting and the YouTube and everything, and you know, you really like it, and that's great. And because you like it, you're gonna, put more time into it, care about it, and really grow it. So that's very important.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and a lot of the things I read too, like you really have to the things you want, and you can have so many different goals, but as if that passion isn't like a true fire inside, it's gonna fizzle out, and you're gonna feel like it's not possible. But you really have to know that, like, I mean, anything is possible. You can build anything you want, but as you have that passion, it adds to that fire, which is
Absolutely.
pulls you through.
Yeah, for sure.
So as we wrap up here, is there anything else that we didn't talk about, like in accounting, that's very you would say to anyone that's kind of going into accounting that you found really interesting, or any tips or anything, or anything that you
Hmm.
haven't talked about that you was on your mind?
Yeah, I mean, just tips for anyone going into, if anyone here were going to accounting or even business, is just, it's very, I think it's a huge thing to just kind of stay up to date in the news. I think it's, a lot of stuff happens in the world, obviously, every day, but, a lot of interesting accounting and business implications come from a variety of events. Like, you look at the pandemic and COVID, obviously, it's a health crisis, and, it really affects the health professionals. But, you know, if you really look at it from an accounting and business perspective, so many things happened where people I don't think would normally think that. But, you think of in Canada where they had the CERB payments, last year, or, the assistance to small businesses and all that stuff, where, it was a little bit of a disaster for accounting firms for a bit there, because it was, oh, how do we handle this? Like,
Mhm.
if people receive this, do we include it in their income, all this stuff? So like, you know, just everything. And like that's, the pandemic's obviously taken over the news. And every time they introduce, relief checks or anything like that, there's just so much going on business wise and tax wise. And then, you can get into politics in Canada and the States and how that affects business and accounting, where it's really interesting to look at it from that perspective. If you know that business and accounting is something that you want to go into, I think seeing real life events and kind of thinking about how does this affect business, I think is really beneficial uh, for learning. Like I just think if you're able to, um, match it with something from real life in the news, you're able to really dive deep and think, wow, this actually has a big effect on business where normally you wouldn't think that it would, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I never thought of it that way. The CERB and all that. That was quite a big thing, quite a big implication for, I'm sure,
Exactly.
everyone that was involved there.
Yeah, I mean, and that was only one of them. Like there was CERB, there was CRB, there was business loans, there was the rent relief. So all that stuff, all those payments from the government to people, businesses, so many tax implications going on. And that's just for, you know, money that they paid them. Uh, so many other things where people working from home now, we treat that, you know, everyone was working from home for some part of 2020 for the most part. So that was a big thing too, where it's like, well, if you're working from home and you're, paying for an office in your home, now you had to buy a computer. How is that tax treated? So for me, at least, someone who's in the accounting world and business world, you think about that stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that it really, connects the schoolwork that I'm doing and learning to the real life, and you start to see it, right? Uh, and even during school, we were able to work with real life businesses on projects and such. And that was really cool too, where you see real life businesses who come to the university for help in their project, and kind of, provide them insights or provide them a report on how they can improve their business operations, how they can improve their accounting system, stuff like that. So I think just a big thing for anyone going into any, you know, any program is if you stay up to date in the news and real life events, kind of based on your topics of interest, I think it'll really drive your interest further, and you'll want to pursue it, and you'll want to relate those two things together.
Well, that's a good that's a good piece of advice. I mean, especially knowing what you're getting into, like tasks with nursing and the difference between what it was like to be a nurse before COVID to now. Like there's
For sure.
again, I mean, that translates to everything. Like everything has changed now. And research and looking into it is a big thing for sure. Well,
Yeah, definitely.
I appreciate you coming on. It was nice chatting with you, and everything we talked about. That was very, very helpful. I'm sure people find this helpful.
Yeah, no, that was great. Very much enjoyed that. Yeah, I hope everyone listening could take a little piece of advice from there, for sure.
Well, thank you. Pietro DeLuca, accountant. He's about to graduate from his master's. Thank you for coming on.
Awesome.
All right. See you, everybody.